Right, so let's start turn 1 of Leningrad. It's a simple I go, you go system, with the Germans having the first part of each turn. So first up is the German replacement phase. I mentioned in the, we talk about the victory conditions, the Germans can restore their units and make up losses. This costs them 1 victory point every time they do it, but as a loss of a step on an armoured or a mechanised unit is 3 or 4 respectively, then they it's well worth doing. Infantry is sort of fairly it's always neutral, so a reduced infantry division basically gives the Russians 1 victory point, whereas if you bumped back, you'd also be giving them 1 victory point. So it really depends on whether the infantry losses are such that you need to bring them back up to strength. Generally, the Germans have got plenty of infantry divisions, so I don't bother. To actually get those replacements, you need the unit to spend an entire turn either in Hexton East Prussia or in a city. So they have to spend the whole turn there, and then the next turn they are back up to strength. So they have to move there, then in one turn, spend a turn, and then they're up and running the next time. So only really important, in as far as I've found in my playthroughs, to get the armours up to strength. And because if you lose one of those armoured or mechanised units completely, then generally you can kiss the game goodbye. So nothing to do for that in this first turn. So we go straight on to the movement phase. Traditional movement. Each hex costs a certain number of movement points, and only armour or mechanised get a bonus for being on roads. That only costs them half, as opposed to the normal 1 for a clear hex. Obviously words going over rivers, marshes we'll come up to later, all slow things down. But you can also make overrun attacks during the movement phase, which is important to the Germans if they think they need to get, they got one Soviet unit getting in their way, and particularly important in this first turn, where really we need to make sure we cut off this whole group of troops, because it's the only real way that we'll knock them out quickly. So we will start with that, and one thing that I have found useful in my tactics is because you don't know the strength, I attack first suddenly down here with these infantry units to get it, because that will then let me know exactly how strong these units are, and then I can follow up with the mechanised corps. Up here, one of the rules is you can only have 2 and 3 divisions above this river, so the 56th Corps up there has got to lead the way. Movement phase is also the phase that any replacements come in. Now, the Germans don't have any units coming in this turn, but they get the first of their air counters. Air counters basically can be played in combat to give you a positive shift if you're attacking, or a negative shift if they're attacking you. And also they can be used to interdict movement, so they basically double the cost of a hex to move through, which can be useful slowing up Russian units. They also can make supply take, well, the cost of tracing supply through hex doubles as well, which can be useful if we want to put someone out of supply. So we can put them there, and we can use that any time that we want. One thing I should say when I was talking about untried units is you don't flip them until you have declared your attack and committed air or whatever. So the German has to go for it before then they know what they've actually come up against. So let's start off. The other thing I should mention about overruns is if you're going to overrun a set of units, you have to stack together from the start. So I'm going to move these 3 divisions up into there. It's 1. They're going to overrun this unit. Now, overrunning normally costs 2 movement points plus the cost of the terrain you're entering. There's a special rule that says that it only costs the Germans one movement point in this time. So we've got an overrun attack declared here. It will cost them 2 movement points in total. At this point we flip over and see what we've got. We've got a 3-4. So I've got 3 German divisions at 6 each, 18 to 4. I've got a 4-1. And this is probably a good time to show you the CRT. I've got my own version of that, so let me just flip up to that. So these are the notes I made to make the game a little bit easier to play. Some of the tables are sort of spread around the rules. What you're seeing up the top here is the movement chart, but also the combat effects of the various terrain. In the middle here we've got the CRT. It's got we've got the odds across the top, standard odds based, and 2 columns. The red is for the effect on the defender, the green is the effect on the attacker at each of those for the various dice rolls, and these are the other modifiers that take effect. So basically the way these work is 1 means you either retreat 1 or you take a step loss of 1. 2 means you've got the option of retreating 2, taking no losses, taking 2 step losses, or retreating 1 and taking 1. E is eliminated. As you can see, unless you can get high odds, you generally have the option of retreating, so it is important that you get surrounded, because clearly if you can't retreat, you've got to take the loss. The kind of effects, other than the usual terrain stuff, overruns actually have 2 negative shifts. Supply is 2 negative if you're defending unsupplied. 2 negative if you're attacking and you're unsupplied. 2 positive to the attacker if you're defending and you're unsupplied. You've got shifts if you've got armour there for the cores, and also for the air units. And this fun one down the bottom here is the effect of 4 positive shifts to the Soviets if they're attacking on that turn 8. So we've got a 4-1, but because it's an overrun, it shifts down to 2-1. So that's not great for the Germans, but we need to get these things, get a move on. So let's see how that comes out. So we have the German units rolling a 2-1 attack. They roll a 1, worst possible. Attackers back 1. So they have to retreat, and if you take the retreat, you can't move again. Right, so that's not great at the start, but the good thing is there's no limit to the number of attacks you can do. So we now know exactly what that unit is, and actually that's not too bad if you're a Panzer Corps. So we're now going to attack with the 41st Panzer Corps. You can move through units, stacking only counts at the end of the movement phase. So 1, 2 for this, then it will cost another 2 to go against that. Whole Panzer Corps is 29, so that's 29 to 4, 7-1. It would be knocked down to a 5-1 because it's an overrun, but the attackers also get a positive shift for having armour and another positive shift for having a whole Panzer Corps. So actually that takes it back up to a 7-1. So 3 at a 7-1 is a 2, so the Russians get to retreat. So they're going to go 1, 2. Now the Germans have an option here on retreat. They can actually, they get a free move, either 1 or 2. They can, as long as they follow the line of retreat. In this case they will do that, so it costs them 2 to get in there, so they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, but that is free. So up to 4 now. And they've still got movement points left, so they can continue attacking, and they will, because they want to try and surround this lot. So again, we're going to do another 7-1 attack on that with the we're cancelling out the overrun negatives, and that's a 5. 5, 7 to 1 is eliminated, and we have our first unit on there. So that takes them to 6. Now here we have an interesting effect of the movement rules. So zone controls are pretty sticky in this game. If you are an infantry unit, you can only move out of a zone of control. If you start, you can move in, but you can't move out during the movement phase. You can only move out if you actually start there, and there's it's called disengagement, and you actually have to leave a unit behind. You can't just totally move out. From the German point of view, motorised units can move out. It costs them 2 movement points. They're not restricted. They can move in and move out, but they can't move out straight into another enemy zone of control. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to here. To move out would cost me that plus another 2, so I can't do it. So actually I'm stuck there, and I've got myself blocked. So we need to continue to attack, because I've got my zones controls here. I've blocked this part of it, but I need to close these off. I need to block these off as well. So we're going to move up and attack with this corps next. In we go. So move across. I think there's camera incoming. There's camera in the way. Might be causing me problems. So again, we're going to have 18 attacking, another 4. They've got some strong defences up here. So 4 would be 4 to 1 down to 2 to 1, but we're in woods, so that makes it 1 to 1. So they're both likely to be affected here. A 1 at a 1 to 1 is attacker back 2. Sorry, just had to pause there to just check on the retreat rules. So the way they're going to have to, you have to retreat to away from the unit, and you have to give preference to empty hexes, and you can't end up with more than 3 units in a hex. So the first 2 of these can go to there and into here. You actually retreat individually, but it's the same effect. For this one though, if you retreat into there, it couldn't go to a hex that then wasn't overstacked. So actually he's going to have to stay where he is and take a hit. So this is going badly for the Germans down there. The Russian effect, the Russian infantry is a lot stronger than they expected. So let's see if we can do better further up the front. So our corps here is going to do an overrun on this unit here, and we need to really make sure this works. So we're going to add in our air power for an extra positive shift. Yikes! A 7. They really rolled their best units out here. So again, 29 to 7 is a 4 to 1. The core and the armour bonus cancel out the overrun, so the Luftwaffe take that up to a 5 to 1. And let's see what we get there. We get a 3, which is a defender back 1. Now they want to slow the Germans down, so they're going to just retreat back to there. So the Germans have to move in with at least 1 unit. They'll stick together. This is tricky because we've now spent that 4 to 1 has so the best we can now get to keep on pushing this forward is another 4 to 1. a 4-to-1, still has a 1 or half chance of causing a loss to us. So that's not going to work. I can't afford, and it's a 1/6 chance of a 2 retreat, and I can't do a 2 retreat, so I'd have to take a loss there as well. So I'm not going to break through this turn. Can't think of any. I certainly can't get enough forces from infantry to take out a unit that's 7 on defence. So we're going to have to fall back on a different strategy, and take advantage of the fact that the Soviets are going to have to counterattack against us. So for the rest of the movement, I need to just move up and get as close to the units, because once you're in the zone of control, they won't be able to move away. That's one of the special rules, and they're going to have to attack me at unfavourable odds, which hopefully will both push them back, but also potentially give some losses that we can take advantage of. So let's move up. I'm going to move those 2 up to here. This is my strongest infantry stack, is going to move into there. Same way this will move into here. They're all low movement rates, so they're not going to. I've got the two retreated back here, so they can't move up. But you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3 because it's forest. 4, 5 because it's 1 for there and 1 for there. And then 6 to make sure I've got a full core worked up there. And for these units, all I don't want to do is leave anybody looking particularly weak. So I'm going to move up to reinforce that core, and I'm going to move this down to here. So this is a very different first turn than we normally get. I've never not managed to break through in one place or another, but that's the end of the German movement. I'll have some thought about where it's useful to do some attacking, and then come back with that pre-planned. Right, we're going to do 4 attacks for the Germans to try and get ourselves in the best place for the counterattack. This corps will attack infantry here in the open, so it's a 4, so that's a 29 to 4. That's going to be a 7-to-1, and because he's got armour and because it's a core, that bumps that up to a 9-to-1. So that we roll a 2, which is a retreat 2. So he's going to go back to there, and it will fall on 1 here to maximise potentially the effect of zones of control, but no, they still can't quite jam someone up. Up at the top here, we'll do the same. We're gonna have another go at this guy. It's 29 to 7, which is a 4-to-1, but again up to 6-to-1 this time with the armour and the core. I don't want to roll a 1. I roll a 5, which is back 2. He's going to. He doesn't want to lead them down here to close the gap, so he's actually going to flee up that way, and he will just follow on. The next attacks we've got, we'll start down the bottom here. we've got these two attacking here. These got some 7s in, totals 39 to 4, which would be 9 to 1, make it 8 to 1 because of the woods. So anything greater than 4 will eliminate it. It's not though, it's a 2. So this guy gets to retreat 2. Now he can't go into a zone of control, but his own units negate that, so you can go there and you can go there. So this shows if you haven't got them bottled up, they're quite elusive, these Soviet units. We're going to advance twice, I think, yes, to make sure we've tied them up for the attack that comes. And then the last attack we've got is this 2 on here. They total 40 to 2 on that one. 20 to 1. Can't get better than a 10 to 1 on this. We roll a 3, that's an elimination. So that goes on the dead pile and move that stronger division up. So much more successful main attack, but not as good as you normally see for the Germans at this point. Be interested to see the impact of the Soviet counterattacks now, and we'll come on to that shortly. The after combat, the only other phase for the German is the German air interdiction phase, easy to say, where if I hadn't used any of my air units, I could place them anywhere on the board to slow down the Soviets, but I have used it, so that's basically used up until next turn anyway. So next up we need to look at the Soviet turn. Right, so it's the Soviet half of the first turn, and they start with their fortification phase, where they can place any forts they get. This time round they don't get those, so I'll cover that later. So they again straight onto the movement phase, and there's some special rules for turn 1 for the Soviets to reflect the kind of panic counterattack that Kuznetsov ordered. Basically every unit on the board, bar 2, the one up here in Libau and the one in Kinsepp, have to move towards the Germans, and if they've got a German unit within their movement range, they have to move up and attack. They don't have to move to the closest to attack it, so that's quite an important part of the strategy here, is try and group the Soviet attacks as much as possible. They're likely to be at weak odds, so what we want to try and achieve is some retreat, allow us to retreat back as intact as we possibly can. I'm going to do this left hand side of the board first in the movements, and then we'll deal with the 27th Army, which is off this way, which is going to move up to form the next line. The other thing, as I mentioned, is you get your replacements at the beginning of the turn, and we have some coming on down here. We have 2 armoured units, a mechanised unit, and another infantry division. Can't quite see that. God, that's rubbish. There you go. It's the rules basically specify which hex they enter on. That they're all coming in from here. I think this is showing that they threw some additional mechanised corps. Now, one of the weird things in the rules is they seem to use armour and mechanised interchangeably, but don't tell you exactly how you pick which one. I think if I was playing this with 2-player, I'd probably say the Soviets get to choose, but as it's solitaire, I basically just roll a dice, and odds it's a armour, and evens it's a mechanised unit, just to give it a bit more randomness and replayability. It can be quite important because only armour that get the actual combat bonus. So I did that both in placement and when I lined these up. The way the units do is they come on that hex, they pay the cost of that hex, and then move on. So you can kind of overstack on the as you come in, but then you have to move out. So we need to move up to attack the Germans. So the 2 units that I'm going to focus on, because down here it's going to have to be this unit. Up here I think we can gang up on this corps with the SS, I think it's a police division. These have to attack here. So if you're already in a zone of control, you can't disengage as another part of the rule. So basically if you're already enmeshed, you're stuck there and have to attack. So those are going to have to attack, but I think I can probably get better odds by trying to gang up on these units. It's always dangerous ganging up on one of these. They're very strong, but we'll see what we get. So the way I'm going to do that is this unit will come down to join here. This unit will move up to join here. These 3 will move to join here. So these 3 can then do a full attack on here. This is going to move to here. He has to move up to join them, and then coming on, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So actually he might escape. The others, however, can't. So it's a half for an armor unit. So it's and 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah, they all get to move up to attack on here. So 2 big attacks, and well, let's just hope they've got some attack strength there when we come off. So that's both 3 places coming on. So if we look now at our second line, the 27th Army. So I've sort of positioned these to put myself in the best position. So these have to move up to get closer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're getting ready to defend Riga. Same with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The no road negates the extra cost for the river there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he's got to keep going the closest he can be. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's important to try and put some zones of control up here. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to allow him to move up to the middle. So those generally move forward. I can flip this unit so he can move next turn, and just off flipping the other one. So that's Soviet movement. We've now got some attacks to resolve, so I'll just calculate the odds and come back with that. Right, we've got a mixed bag here. Let's take it from the top. So here these turned out both for attack strength of 2. So we've got 4 to 22, balls down to 1 to 6. Now the worst odds you can roll on are 1 to 4, and any roll basically eliminates the attacker. So these 2 divisions are destroyed. Here, however, we've actually got 35 attacking to 21, so 1 to 1, but we have armour, and armour gives us a positive shift so long as the defenders in the open, which they are. So it makes it a 2 to 1. So it should mean these survive. 2 to 1, we get a 4, which is 1 on both sides. So the German can't retreat, so it has to take a step loss. So I'll flip the bottom division there and put that back, so it's very handy. From the Russian point of view, we want to get our units out, and now, interestingly enough, this part of the attack can't retreat because it's surrounded by zones control, and it's so if I take a retreat, I'm going to lose both those divisions because they can't. Or if I stay still, then I'm going to obviously trap these units, but leave a massive gap here as I move on. This is an interesting dilemma for the Soviets. I think they need to move back. So these units will retreat one to there. These will retreat one to here, and I will sacrifice these two because I need people moving backwards. Down here, not so good. It's always hard when you're attacking one of these. It's a 23 to 29, almost made it, which is a 1 to 2. I get a positive shift for the armour, but there's 2 negative shifts here, 1 for the armour and 1 for the core bonus. So actually that takes it to 1 to 3. So I'm looking to avoid a 1 or a 2. I get a 1. That's eliminated, so that's quite painful on the risk of these initial attacks. So that's 2 divisions there, but I'm losing some quite powerful armour along there, but that's the risk of moving those together. So that leaves things pretty open for the Germans, and we're going to be coming back with their attack next. The only other phase you have after this is the game term indication phase, which is basically moving the counter to the next phase, turn 2, which is the 29th to the 5th of July, 29th of June to 5th of July, and we'll come back with that shortly.